Welcome to this weekly tarot reading for inner healing. Let's dive in. So, as always, what is the week's lesson? The week lesson is, the Empress. So, the Empress is all about creativity and flow and abundance and just being kind of it's a very feminine card. It's like being with that feminine side of you that is perhaps maybe more in tune with your intuition, but also the flowy aspects. This card is often associated with nature and like allowing things to be instead of forcing them and kind of like being strict. It's about being in the flow. What I'm getting here is that the week's lesson is about maybe being more supple and flexible and kind of allowing yourself to be more flowy. I know personally that's something that I sometimes struggle with. I sometimes feel like I always put myself a lot of schedules or lists of things to do, and maybe sometimes I can be a little rigid. And so I think this week is all about flowing. So, what to look out for? What are your weaknesses that might be in the way this week, with especially with regards to flow? And wow, we couldn't have gotten a better card, which is the Son of Pentacles. And the Son of Pentacles is all about that person who, that energy of just putting one foot in front of the other and just kind of like being on a mission of like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I've said I'm going to do this, and so I'm going to do this. And that can be really great energy, but sometimes, especially if we're wanting to be maybe more into the flow and more spontaneous and be able to be open to new opportunities that might appear if we're open to them, well, sometimes this can actually get in our way. That idea of always like just, putting in the hard work and, almost having blinders on and not looking up. And actually what I love about this particular card in this deck is that this Son of Pentacles is actually stopped and is looking up at that star almost to make sure it's going the right direction. And so I feel like that might be a clue here, is it's not about not doing the work or putting everything off. It's just about taking a little pause, looking up and seeing if you're still actually following the star you set out to follow, but also maybe there's another star that's going to appear if you flow and are able to let that. So what are your strengths that you can look into, that you can lean into, because they'll be here to help you this week? Oh, wow, we got the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups is actually about joy and celebration and harmony and community. And you can actually see it in this card. The cat is just looking down at these little kittens, and it's just a really cute little scene, a daily scene. And what I get from this particular card is that a lot of the joy that we get in life is not these huge things. Like, for example, this day might not be, a picture that they would put in the album to represent the year, but it might be through these exact moments, the ones that are almost not really anything to write home about. They're actually where the joy comes from. And so what I'm getting here is, in order to be able to flow and to be a little bit more maybe in tune with your creative side, and again, spontaneous, it's just to look at where you're getting your joy and follow that. And also, I do get that there's something about community or the people that you feel at home with, your family. It doesn't necessarily need to be your real family, but it could be your soul family, the people that make you feel good and just make you feel content just being there. And so lean into that. Those are your strengths this week. Lean into the fact that you can find joy in the little things. And it's through that you'll be able to maybe follow those little things into flow. So as always, we'll end this reading with a message of love from our guides or our highest self. And we got two cards wanted to come out. We got the Five of Wands and the Ace of Swords. And the Five of Wands is all about our energy and being kind of pulled in different directions. But I've always loved this card in this particular deck because it just shows how sometimes the thorns that we feel are in our lives can actually become these beautiful flowers once we kind of work through them or transmute them. And I actually love it how it actually is responding here with this, the garden in this Ace of Swords is like kind of maybe coming from these wands. And the Ace of Swords is all about a new idea or some fresh spark or a new way of thinking about things. And I think especially if we're linking it back to this idea of the flow, maybe it's through some of the things that are bothering you that you're going to, or the things that you have been working on, that you're going to have a new idea or a new way of looking at things, a new way of being able to get into flow so that you can kind of be able to do that. And I love how it's almost like the message of love is to remember that all the things that you're going through, even if, let's say, you're kind of feeling as if you're always a little rigid or always just working a lot, maybe it's through some of those things and dealing with them and looking at them and analyzing them this week that you're going to see things a little differently. And but it's not like you're just going to throw those away. Those, you're going to build on that. We're not learning lessons to then just be like, oh, that was an old part of myself and that I'm not that person anymore. We build on ourselves and we want to grow from everything that we're learning. And that's where we can actually then have it become a new idea that becomes a new garden. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, the Empress is always linked to nature and the flowering and abundance and all this kind of like overflowing almost energy. So I feel like that's such a beautiful message to end here with, which is, if you let it happen and and you're aware of where you're kind of maybe wanting to always control things, and if you can follow the joy, follow the little tiny joy, you will probably have new ideas and new growth and new ways of going, because you will allow them to, because you will be going in the flow. So on that, I'm wishing you a lovely week. I'm sending lots of love and lots of laughter as always, and I'll see you next video. Thanks so much for watching.